I'm good.
That's good. I'm a long-time fan. I'm excited for you for this new opportunity that you have in front of you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and get started. You're welcome. I'll go ahead and get started because I have a lot of things I want to ask you and find out about it. Like I'm going to have to tune in tomorrow night because I am single.
Girl.
I know, right?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
It's a good show. I'm telling you, you're going to find yourself wanting to sign up.
Wow. Okay, we'll get to that later. All right, so can you tell us about, just give us, for people who don't know, and maybe somebody who might not have heard, everybody that I've talked to so far has heard about it so far, but for people who don't know, can you just tell us a little bit about It Takes a Church?
It is a matchmaking show, and when they first came to me and said that, I was like, well, no, I'm not doing that, a matchmaking show in the church.
Right.
The more I just love it. And it is a sweet, endearing, family-friendly show that takes place in a church, a different city, a different church every week. And the church nominates a single person from their congregation. And then, of course, if you've spent any time in a church, you know that every church has those women and church ladies that will bake you a cake and try to find you a husband. And so this allows them, the matchmakers, to bring their favorite bachelors or bachelorettes, depending on the single, to church with them. Then they get up in front of the church and they present who they've brought. And then this is the twist. The church, with the help of the pastor, narrows it down from about 12. They vote on who they think the single should take the time to get to know a little bit more. And so the church narrows it down for the single. And so they narrow it down. Now, the single does have the final say. The final one is chosen by the single, but it is narrowed down by the church.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, so one of my questions was, wow. So one of my questions was, will it only be men or women? But I guess it's both, right? Both men and women can participate in this.
It is. I will say it was mostly women. Only one.
Yeah.
Did we have a man during this season? And I think in season 2 it might be a little bit different. But this time in 8 episodes, one of them was a man and the other 7 were women.
Okay. All right. Wow. So how did you guys pick the cities and churches that were associated with the contest for season 1? Or do you know that?
You know what? I wasn't involved in the selection process, but
okay.
There was an application process that churches, actually applied, and then they would send somebody out to meet with the pastor and meet with the single that, that's how they chose them, but the churches did apply for it.
Wow, that is crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so why do you believe that it takes a church to find true love then? Because I know I was reading a quote. It doesn't take a rose, but it takes a church. So can you give us a little bit about that and why you signed on for it?
Well, first of all, because I think marriage, if you're dating just a date, well, that's your own business, but you're wasting your time, But you're dating with the intention of trying to find a life partner. First of all, there's no better place to find that than in the local church. Second of all, marriage, which is God's idea and God's plan, why would you not involve then the person that you're giving spiritual authority to, your pastor and your church community and those people that you're going to church with? Of course you should involve them in your love life. And a lot of times I think people treat their love life as like a taboo topic in the church, but I think this is the very place we should be talking about our love lives.
Wow. This is great. So back to the voting. So wow. The voting piece of it. So about how many people did they narrow down from again?
They narrow from about 10 or 12 down to 4.
Wow. And then the person who's the actual contestant gets to pick.
And then the contestant gets to keep narrowing it down, but she has to listen and take the advice from her pastor who does, lots of times they're doing like premarital counseling exercises with them. matchmakers who give their advice, who are always watching and overseeing the time that they spend together. And so,
wow.
So.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay, so what do you guys say, or what would you say about believers? You know, everybody likes to quote that scripture over in Psalms, he who finds a wife, or, you know, and, you know, for it meaning just that, let him find you, since you said there's more women on the show than there were guys. So what would you say to those kind of people who are kind of, you know, skeptical and, you know?
So I understand it. I absolutely understand why you would be skeptical if you heard dating show in the church, Christian dating show. I was skeptical myself. And that's why I really don't like the term Christian dating show, because it's so much more than a dating show. In fact, there's very little dating that actually happens on the show. It's much more courtship. It's much more real life. It's the antithesis of what the world is showing us through other reality television programs, through, you know, backstabbing and lying and cheating and these romantic, completely unrealistic dates, which are completely wrong. You know, what culture is telling a young generation that dating is supposed to look like? I think this show is a beautiful example of what dating could look like. When you involve your church, you involve the people that you trust. And it also just shows, you know, so for those that are skeptical, it's not about, you know, trying to make a Christian version of The Bachelor. It's nothing like The Bachelor. And I would ask those same people, well, then when you say that a man finds a wife, where does he find her? Does he find her in a club or in a bar or at his workplace, or is the best place maybe to find that in the local church? And is sometimes the people that we go to church with might have a sphere of influence and know people that we would never have the opportunity to meet unless we opened ourselves up to the possibility. And, you know, I think once people see the show, they will be far less.
Wow. Okay, you're kind of answering everything. So how successful do you think the show will be? You know, will there be a season 2, or, you know, do you feel like it's like catch on where people might just do it without the cameras being there?
Yeah, I really hope that the show is successful and that there is a season 2. You know, even for those who are married or think, well, why should I watch this show? I think if for nothing else, support quality, family, clean entertainment, because it continues to send a message to Hollywood through movies and television that a faith-based community really is tired of what's on television, and they want quality programming that they can enjoy with their families. And that's one of the main reasons I hope this show does well, is just because I can watch this show with my daughters. You know, I mean, it's a safe, clean show. And it also shows my daughters that chivalry is not dead. There are still great guys out there. There are guys who are gentlemen, who respect women and treat them with decency and courtesy. And, you know, I think those are important things for our culture to see.
Okay. So you said that someone was there overseeing the dating, or I guess the dating or courtship process. Can you give us a little bit more, I guess, insight about how that kind of happens, or how that happened on the show?
Well, sure. It's that the pastor and the matchmakers, they kind of observe and watch while the singles spend time together. And, you know, one of the things I love is it's not like these prearranged romantic dates that these singles are going out on. In fact, the very first activity that they do together is a community ministry outreach that the church does.
Wow.
And that's where the singles are first getting to know each other, is through serving and through ministry. And I love that. That's like the antithesis to what culture tells you to do. This is like, I'm going to serve. And the matchmakers are watching. They're watching them interact. They're watching how they talk to each other. They're looking to see if there's any kind of chemistry or spark. And then the next activity that they do is an activity with just the pastor, where the pastor counsels and asks questions and plays kind of a game with them that gets them to get to know each other a little bit better. And then, near the end, the single will have the opportunity to go on a date with the final two. And, that's really the only time that dating even plays a part of the actual show.
Wow, so it's kind of like what we I guess been told, where somebody said that they threw date. I think somebody, I Kissed Dating Goodbye, I think that was a book, and he was talking about, doing group dates and things like that, really looking for that person that God intended for you to be with. But you meet them kind of like, I guess, the natural way. So it's kind of like a forced happening, but it has those same concepts, it sounds like.
Yeah, it really does.
No, that's good. That's good. Okay, so will we get a chance to see them later or after a few dates, with the person that they selected at the end when it gets down to the final two?
Yeah, I really hope that they go back and they do follow-ups, because I've heard, I don't want to, give too much away, but I've heard a couple of these couples together, and that one actually is quite serious. So here's hoping that we made an actual love connection.
Oh, wow. This sounds like a great thing for you, Natalie. I'm excited for you. That is good. That's good. That's good. Okay, can you tell our readers and listeners, I guess, when the show will air?
Yes, it's on Thursday nights on the Game Show Network at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, of course, 9 p.m. Pacific time. And it again is on the Game Show Network, and almost everybody has that network, whether they realize it or not.
Okay, are you guys going to be live tweeting during the show or anything of that nature?
Of course, we're going to. So, I'm excited for it to debut.
Okay.